Welcome back to the Ross Bolin podcast presented by Bolin Media. I am Ross Bolin, and today I'll be joined via the magic of technology by Jared Borislow. But first, a quick reminder of some of the things we have going on here at Bolin Media for those of you who watch House of the Dragon. Remember, Season 2 is starting June 16th, and of course, we expect that Oysters, Clams, and Cockles will be your go-to companion podcast. You simply enjoy the latest episode of Hot D, then tune in to OCC the next day to hear me and Barrett Dudley digest and discuss what we saw the night before. We'll have a couple podcasts leading up to the Season 2 premiere to get you all prepared, but you could also go back and check out all of our Season 1 coverage for a refresher. Tune into Oysters, Clams, and Cockles wherever you tune into RBP and follow on social media for updates. For all the miserable Houston sports fans out there, I host the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence called Banging the Can. Most of the audience is on youtube.com/@bangingthecan, but we're on podcast platforms as well. Follow @bangingthecan on social media. And speaking of sports, if you're an F1 fan, Jared Borislow, otherwise known as J-Bone, who will be joining me today, is giving you the best F1 coverage on the whole of the internet with his show, Formula Bone. You can watch on youtube.com/@formulabone with over 135,000 other subscribers, or listen on audio platforms. Follow @formulabone on all the social mediums as well. We really appreciate y'all supporting Bolin Media. We are a small operation with 4 full-time employees, myself included, and we only survive thanks to the support of our listeners, followers, and fans. So stick with us and tell your people about our shows. Word of mouth is the number one way to help us grow. All right, now it's time to bring in Jared Borislow, host of Formula Bone. J-Bone, how you doing, man?
J-Bone, that's what I love about Wisconsin. I can't say Texas anymore. I used to open up with that for a while.
Yeah, no, you're not here in Texas. That would be weird if you said that.
No, I'm not. Hey, look what's on my hand. You see
I know, a married man. How's the married life treating you?
It's exactly like the girl. Not dating. I don't know what you call that. It's exactly like the fiance and long-term girlfriend life, because we were together for 8 years, which kind of
not much changes.
Nothing changed at all.
Not a vibe shift.
No.
How's Millie?
It was a very long time together. So, Ross, it's great to see your beautiful face.
Thank you, man.
I need to say.
You can't see there's a big ass microphone blocking some of my better features, I feel like.
Well, that's how I'm used to seeing you, Ross. Think about fair. How many hundreds and hundreds of hours I've seen you, and that's exactly how you look. That's actually how I picture you.
Yeah.
If you ask me to draw you from memory, there's just a large black cylinder in front of your face.
How's Millie? How's the furry one?
She's doing great. She's outside the studio right now. I actually put her in my Formula Bone recording yesterday. She's in the bed with me.
I know.
But she laid down for the vast majority of it. So
good girl.
Your son loves my videos, right?
Oh yeah, he loves F1 in general. He's all the way in.
Would you ever let him race?
You'd have to talk to his mommy. She's not all that stoked that he's super into it.
Does he wear the...
It's very dangerous. I'm like, it's fine. They got all this technology now. It's perfectly safe. Rarely is there a fatality.
Yeah, nobody's died in F1 since 2015. So it's not... That sounds a lot worse when I say it out loud then.
That's 9 whole years of no deaths.
Yeah.
Do they have like a sign up at the F1 races, like 9 years since our last fatal crash?
They should have one.
They should have. That would encourage more mothers to let their babies grow up to be F1 drivers. You've heard that country song, "Mamas, don't let your boys grow up to be F1 drivers."
I have. It's huge.
Yeah, that was written after the last fatal crash in 2015.
Hey, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
I ran out of Nespresso pods this morning. Like, I opened up my little drawer and it was just empty, which is what any coffee addict hates to see.
Right.
And I need to preface this by saying the other day when I was writing my Miami preview, I got a quad shot latte, downed it, and then went back up to the counter at the coffee shop and then ordered I brought a travel mug, like a 24-ounce travel mug, and then I had that filled up with coffee.
Okay.
And they didn't judge me. They said like, "Oh no, dude, like yeah, people drink that much coffee all the time." But I felt kind of judged. And anyways, point being, right now I didn't have coffee, so I'm drinking a yerba mate. Are you familiar?
No, what is that?
It's an Argentinian tea, but it's very heavily caffeinated. Also, recently found out carcinogenic
Oh, good. That's great. Yeah, that means good for you, right? In science terms.
in Argentinian Spanish. Yes. The real question here is anything is carcinogenic these days, isn't it? Every like month,
A
there's
lot of
some new
things.
article on WebMD usually where it's like cured meat gives you cancer.
Yeah.
McDonald's fry oil gives you cancer. Seed oils, that's a big one. See seed
A lot of
oils,
people are
people
out
don't
on
like
seed
those.
oils. Yeah. Yeah, I'm still not clear on what seed oils are, so I'm probably still ingesting them. I try not to pay too much attention to this type of shit, like the really specific nutrition stuff. One, because my wife is like she's like a trained nutritionist, so she knows. So I feel like I can remain ignorant. And then two, it's too stressful. It reminds me, it's the same as like if you pay attention to every major piece of world news, you're gonna be miserable all the time. If you pay attention
Yes.
to every development in the field of nutrition, you're going to be eating grass in your backyard. Like there's nothing left for you to eat. It's all
Yes.
bad on some level. Yeah, it's tough out there.
It's
Wait, but you're still a pod guy? Don't care about the environment, huh?
actually I get the compostable pods. Do I
Oh wow.
compost them? No, but I imagine because they're compostable, something happens in the landfill that's better than the plastic.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I like to imagine too.
Like anytime I buy something that says compostable, I'm like, if I don't compost, is this any better? Like it has to be, right? Like the landfill that has the bacteria, I think I'm feeding them so then they can try then they can try and fail to eat the water bottles.
Dude, I used to feel really good. I think we've talked about this before, but I used to feel really good about recycling because I do a good amount of it. And then like one day I found out that
Good guy.
if you don't, that first of all, recycling is like kind of a sham.
Oh yeah.
And then secondarily, like if you're not washing, like thoroughly washing every piece of plastic, if like, let's say it's like a container that had like raspberries in it and all the raspberries are gone. So if you just go throw that in your recycling without water washing out all of the raspberry residuals, it's fucked and they can't use it. So like what I just now the problem for me is I'm still recycling and I do a better job of cleaning stuff out. But every time I go to the recycling bin, I think about how none of the other lazy fucks are possibly doing this correctly. So it's all worthless and it just makes me a little more depressed every time I recycle now, which is the opposite of the feeling I should be getting and it's really unfortunate.
I had this exact conversation with my wife 2 days ago where she was washing out like a hummus container so she could recycle it. But like it was like some of it a little bit hardened on there and it took her like 30 seconds. And I was like, do you think that the 30 seconds of water that it out of the faucet is worth whatever value the recycling, if that even gets through the system, is worth? And
Dude.
personally, I think no.
Yeah, and I didn't used to weigh these decisions about like preserving Mother Earth as heavily, but when now I have kids, it hits harder because I'm like, well, I don't want to fuck this up even worse for them, because our generation is one of the first ones that realized like, holy shit, everybody before us has been doing this horribly wrong, with just so much pollution, so many bad habits, and so now I feel like more responsibility to being an environmentally conscious adult. And it's tough, man. It's tough. Because, like, the water thing, I'll leave the water running while I'm doing the dishes, and I'm like, fuck, should I have turned it off for that 20 seconds that I was, not utilizing it? Was that just, did I just
Well,
destroy the
Russ,
planet? Was that the 20 seconds that ends the world?
until you start using reusable diapers, you're not going to
Still
be
a
a
piece of shit.
good
Yeah,
steward of the earth.
I've used like 20,000 diapers on my 1-year-old, so I'm definitely still a piece. But at least I have the
How do you
Tesla,
clean a
right?
diapher?
I don't
You just,
want to
you
know,
just,
Jared.
you
See,
don't clean a reusable diaper. You just put it under the sink and
because
just.
then there's more water being used. And then we're back to your question of like, does this actually offset, right? There's always some fucking
Well,
problem.
yeah.
Even with the electric cars, we found out like the batteries are terrible for the environment for a while there. They've started to improve that apparently, but like, yeah, we can't win, man. We're just fucking up constantly. All right, let's shift gears, Jared. Pun intended. Your new episode is out, previewing and predicting the first American F1 race of the season, correct?
Yes, correct.
The Miami Grand Prix?
Miami Grand Prix taking place in Miami in a temporary circuit that is built around Hard Rock Stadium where the Dolphins and Miami Hurricanes play. people dunk on it for that quite a bit. They call it a parking lot Grand Prix because it's not it's not through public streets. It goes through one like half public street that's like an exit street for when people are leaving football games. All the rest of it is just like made on tarmac. They just paved over certain areas of the complex around the Hard Rock Stadium, put up the fences, repave it or like try to like retreat the pavement because it hasn't been raced on. It's like most circuits are getting raced on, at least a few weekends a month, at least a couple weekends a month, whereas this one gets raced on once a year. So the tarmac is going to be no rubber is going to be on it. It's going to be slick. So they have to like really make sure it's got some grip.
It's kind of bootleg, the setup. You dubbed it the cringe Grand Prix.
Yes.
Why is that?
It has two nicknames. Number one, the cringe Grand Prix. Number two, the Walmart Monaco Grand Prix.
Oh, wow.
And the reasons behind those are tied together. The Walmart Monaco Grand Prix is mostly because they tried to make it like a Miami waterfront city, very famous beach scene. The vibe of that is not the vibe at Hard Rock Stadium. However, they have manufactured that by putting in a fake marina where millionaires and billionaires have their boat towed on a trailer into the complex. And then once the boats are all put in their position, they come in and put fake water around the boat. So it looks like they're in the water, but really they are not. But you can still do boat gating or whatever they call it,
right?
Yacht gating, where you are watching the race, getting drunk on your yacht. But again, you're not in real water. So that's where that part comes in. The cringe Grand Prix comes in because when this race was first introduced, and then seemingly every year since, the organizers try to make it like extra American. Like they really go over the top doing all these things to try to make it super American. The first year it happened, they made all the people wear NFL helmets on the podium, and they look like the Great Gazoo from the Jetsons, or like Mason Rudolph after he got injured that one time when they took his remember
his
that
face mask off.
Yeah, they took his face mask off, and he literally looked like the Great Gazoo. He had a traumatic brain injury, so it's not. I shouldn't be laughing about that, but he did look hilarious.
Funny though.
He was fighting for the job. He might be their quarterback. No, he's not, because they have Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Getting off track. That's a bizarre thing that they did. I don't know what the Steelers are doing. So then they did that. And then also there's the paddock area, which every F1 race has the paddock area. So it's like where the really rich people go. You have a ticket to there. All your food and drinks are free. It's a crazy expensive area. Now there's also the VIP area, which is like more a la carte, where you're in a nice area, but you're still paying for all your food and drinks. And the VIP menu got leaked at last year's race, and it was hilarious. It was like $500 for it was like $350 for like a salad, or like $500 for like a shrimp cocktail. And it's supposed to feed like, X number of people, but it's just like crazy, crazy price. So people are dunking on that. And then the biggest reason why it's cringe happened at last year's race. They had you of all people. You might be already familiar with this, but you will hate this more than anybody else. Who is your least favorite pop singer of the last 20 years because of where you lived in college?
Because of where I lived in college? Oh, I mean, it's will.i.am and the Black Eyed Peas.
Yes, it is will.i.am. So, and I cannot believe, I wish I was in the room for this conversation. Last year, will.i.am was F1's artist in residence.
Yes.
And at the Miami Grand Prix they did these driver intros where LL Cool J introduced the drivers like it was an NBA game. Right?
Oh, so this was incredible. I was watching. Yeah.
Yes. And that part was fine because LL Cool J, people like him. He's generally liked. However, while this is all going on, will.i.am was fake conducting an orchestra of a song he wrote for Formula One that apparently is the only thing he contributed while being an artist in residence. And the lyrics of it, 99% of them are, "This is the formula. This is the formula."
It was incredible.
And so he's just conducting an orchestra where all they're doing is playing this like weird bass line for 8 minutes straight. Like they didn't need you there, will.i.am. Number one, you're not doing anything. You're just moving your hands around with a wand in your hand. You look like Harry Potter out there. Secondarily, it looked so dumb.
It was so over the top and so fucking awkward and goofy. I loved the video you made out of this though, doing like the music video you made for "This Is the Formula." That song,
which I'm going to repost it. I have to repost.
Oh, you have to. You have to.
So that was the cringe that was the cringe jumping the shark moment where it's like, this is a cringe race. And then this year, you got to assume they're going to do more dumb stuff like that. Plus, it's a sprint weekend, which is a very controversial thing where they take out 2 practices, replace them with a race and a qualifying for that race. A lot of the old F1 heads hate it. So they already are going into this race weekend like this is going to be stupid again. And maybe it will be. And also, they didn't send me to the race this year and they didn't sponsor me. So I felt like I could dunk on them even more.
Dude, the thing about the yacht, the yacht situation is one of the lamest things I have ever heard in my life. The fact that they're towing boats out there, putting fake water around them, and allowing the billionaires and millionaires that own those boats to boatgate the race is one of the dumbest things, and just like an enormous waste of resources. Just that's absurd. That's absolutely.
What makes it even
ridiculous.
funnier is that there actually is one straight. If you look at the map, the straight that's all the way at the top, which is on that like half public road, actually is on a like a canal that is like clearly like a drainage canal, and so I think they should have put the boats there. I don't know. I don't know if the boats could have. I don't know if the water's deep enough, but it would have been way funnier.
Summertime is nearly upon us, and there's almost nothing I love more in the summer than spending time at the pool or at the beach if I'm lucky, basking in the glow of the smoking hot sun. But like Spider-Man's uncle once said, with great sunshine comes great responsibility, and that responsibility is to keep yourself hydrated, because when it's hot as shit outside, your body needs more liquids. Fortunately, today's show is brought to you by Liquid IV. Liquid IV hydrates you with benefits like electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients. With 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients in a single stick, it's clear why Liquid IV is the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Liquid IV is as easy as it gets. You simply tear open one of their convenient little packets, pour it into 16 ounces of water, shake or stir, depending on your preference, and enjoy the hydrating power of Liquid IV with a refreshing beverage that tastes fantastic. Taking care of yourself is important. Keeping yourself hydrated is a vital and crucial part of taking care of yourself, and Liquid IV is here to make sure that hydration is easier to achieve than ever. If you're like me and you're sometimes too busy or too forgetful to remember to drink enough water, Liquid IV makes getting your daily hydration in simple and more delicious. Tear, pour, live more. 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink. 8 vitamins and nutrients. Non-GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. No artificial colors or sweeteners. 4 delicious sugar-free flavors. White peach, green grape, raspberry melon, and my favorite, lemon lime. A 0 sugar hydration solution with no artificial sweeteners, clinically tested to hydrate more than water alone. Turn your ordinary water into extraordinary hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code ROSS at checkout. That's ROSS. That's 20% off your order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code ROSS at liquidiv.com. This will be the 7th F1 race of the season, right? I believe. How has this season gone so far in your eyes?
Is it the 6th or the 7th? I lose track.
I think there's been 6, and this is the 7th.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So how has the season gone? Well, it's exactly as I thought it would go. However, there's a lot more drama off track. Okay. So here's what most people know. And here's why most people, if you're listening to this, hey, J-Bone, good to see you again. And you don't follow F1, the main reason is probably why I did not get into F1 before the Netflix docuseries came out. And that is because all I knew about it was that one person won every race. Back then, it was Lewis Hamilton. Right now, it's Max Verstappen. Now, these periods happen because they have certain regulation periods in Formula One. So right now, it's 2022 to 2026 is a certain regulation period where there's these new sets of regulations and the teams get to develop their cars throughout them as good as possible. So usually by the end of the regulation periods, it gets pretty close, which is why the 2021 season, Lewis and Max were even on points going into the last race, and it was crazy and amazing and highly controversial. And so then it started over
and part of what caused this explosion in fandom. Yeah.
Exactly. So then the new regulation started in 2022. Mercedes got it mega wrong. Red Bull got it mega right. And so Mercedes are probably not even going to catch up to Red Bull by the end of this series. If anything, McLaren or Ferrari are who are the ones who are doing a lot better in this current era than Mercedes is. So Red Bull just got it mega right. They also have the world's best car designer ever, or F1 car designer ever, I should say. Everybody knows the world's greatest car designer ever is John DeLorean. Now, the Adrian Newey, Red Bull's current car designer, just announced he will be leaving. He'll be leaving sometime a year. He has like 1 year left, but he's going to be like stepping away from F1 car creation and focusing more on Red Bull building their like sports car, hypercar situation. So that's huge. That's massive because he is a major reason why they're so good. He just has a phenomenal understanding of specifically like ground effect cars, which is what the new current regulation is, but also just F1 cars in general. He's won so many drivers and constructors championships. Him leaving Red Bull is going to be massive for Formula One because if he goes to another team, they instantly have all of his wealth of resources that they can use to make a car that can compete with Red Bull's car. If not by the end of this regulation series, through 2025, through next season, then at the very least through the next one. Secondly, Max Verstappen, best driver in the world. So you have the best driver in the world driving the best car. Obviously, Red Bull's going to dominate, but Max Verstappen might be leaving Red Bull after the season, potentially, because of all this drama that's going on with Christian Horner, which, Ross, how familiar are you with that?
Not very.
Essentially, Christian Horner, team principal of Red Bull, married to Ginger Spice from the Spice Girls.
Okay.
Allegedly cheated on her. I don't know if it was physical cheating or just digital cheating. Either way, allegedly, I'm saying it, allegedly cheated on her, caused this whole power struggle where Christian Horner was looking like he was going to get laid off for it because it was like with a Red Bull employee.
Oh.
He got found of no wrongdoing. However, it created this power vacuum and this whole internal drama of like, oh, who leaked the text? Because all the text messages got leaked, and it's crazy thing. And people are around it. That's part of the reason Adrian Newey left, was he's like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Red Bull were almost going to let go this one guy who Max Verstappen loved, but Max loves him so much, so they didn't let him go. And it's just they're so good. They're not letting it impact their on-track performance at all, but Red Bull is so chaotic right now internally, and that might cause Max to leave. If he leaves, he's either going to go to Mercedes or not Ferrari, because they just got Lewis Hamilton, they have Charles Leclerc. He could go to Mercedes. I don't really know. Mercedes is the main one people talk about, but like Aston Martin's owner is a billionaire. Maybe but
spring for him. Yeah. Regardless, that would be a huge shakeup, obviously. Yeah.
Massive shakeup. If I had to guess, Adrian Newey would go to Aston Martin because he wants to stay in America. So the great car designer would go to Aston Martin. Max would go to Mercedes. They can like really promise him like, hey, this next regulation era, we're going to dominate. But yeah, so off track, F1 is super interesting. However, if you aren't already interested in the on-track stuff, you're not going to get into F1 for the off-track stuff. You only care about that because you get invested with the on-track stuff. And right now, the on-track stuff is bad, so it can't attract enough people to get to like the off-track stuff.
I don't think it's as bad as you think it is. It's like the on-track stuff. It's the first. Well, first of all, Verstappen didn't win one of the races so far, right? That was
his car exploded. His brakes exploded.
Yeah, so he was taken out. That was exciting. That was fun to watch, just because it was so different than anything we've seen in like the last 2 years.
Yes.
But I finally this season have been able to, I would say, graduate from like absolutely ignorant to novice F1 fan, mostly as a result of your show, Formula Bone. And the biggest step for me was getting over the fact that like it's not about who wins, because it's Red Bull is running away with it pretty much every time. So you have to focus on the other drama that occurs within the race, which frankly the commentators realize this. They're very aware. A lot of the times Verstappen's up like 20, 30, 50 seconds, whatever. They stop even showing you Verstappen's
they don't
car
show him. They don't show Max
his existence, and they go focus on the parts of the race that are actually interesting, and they've done a really, really good job of this. So finally, this season, I've been able to be like, all right, fuck it. Verstappen's going to win every race. I'm going to find the other enjoyable pieces of this thing and focus on those. And it's made it really, really fun. On top of that, like you said, my 1-year-old son loves this shit. Like the first 2 races of this year that were on Saturday mornings, we were getting up and I was putting it on, and he like stands under the TV just staring up at it going, vroom, vroom, like making car noises. He loves it. Anything loud, anything machinery, like he's like such a stereotypical little boy.
Yes.
He fucking loves that shit. But so those two things combined really helped me start to be able to enjoy it more. Because in classic American brain, if you're not first, you're last, right?
Yes. Did you watch Talladega?
No, I did. I don't care about NASCAR at all. I care about F1 significantly more than NASCAR.
Same. But to your point, there's the American brain loves NASCAR because there's a different winner most races. Like, it's very rare for a driver to go back-to-back wins. Secondly, in the last 3 laps of the race, they all just yeet each other because they're like, oh, if you're not first, you're last. And literally, I was watching Talladega with some friends, and I went, hey, there's going to be a massive crash at the end of the race. It gets to be in 1 lap left. They're like, you said there's going to be a crash. I was like, literally wait. And then boom, 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 boom. The big one happened. They all smash everywhere. The winner gets knocked out 100 yards before the finish line every time. So I get why people like NASCAR. The only issue is NASCAR's only fun for the last 15 laps.
Yeah, and it's
F1's
a lot
fun for
of
the
laps.
whole race.
Yeah.
So it's like you're condensing the fun over an entire 2-hour race versus just in the last 15 laps.
Yeah, and I mean, I
I
understand the strategy. So for NASCAR, it's like you basically are drinking the entire time, and then by the end of it, when it matters, you're drunk and locked in. That's why NASCAR is fun for people. I get it. I understand. But like, NASCAR's never been my thing. I don't drink, which doesn't help for me. So F1, I've started to get more and more into it, and it's once you get past that, like, first place is the only thing that matters sentiment, it becomes really, really enjoyable. And it's just like, it is very European. So like, you've got all these accents in the commentators and in the media people, and they're interviewing all these like worldwide celebrities on the track beforehand, which is one of my favorite elements of this thing. And they always have an absurd amount of A-listers, even if will.i.am is sometimes there to ruin the fun. And no, I've gotten really into it. And it's like, I feel like I'm a weird F1 fan because I never did Drive to Survive. I never watched it.
Yeah, that is atypical.
And I mean, it's like a secondary effect though, because Drive to Survive launched you into it.
Yep.
You ended up launching Formula Bone. Formula Bone is obviously part of Bowling Media, and that got me motivated to try more and more to watch it. And then when I started watching races, like probably halfway through last season, I started making sure I always had them on because I was trying to keep up with your coverage and everything, trying to get into it more. And when I realized my son loved it, that was even more motivating. So now I'm like locked the fuck in. But over the past several weeks, they've had all these races at like the strangest possible times internationally, and that's another hurdle you have to clear as an American F1 fan. And especially for me, when I'm like, one of my main motivations is I want to watch it with my kid. He's fucking sleeping when it's 2 a.m. So wait, what time is the Miami Grand Prix on Sunday? That's one of the things I want to make sure I walk away with this.
Okay. Everything's changing around so much these days. I know that it's at a very reasonable time. I don't know if it's like 3. Let's see. So the sprint race is at 11 a.m. Saturday. So that is the short 19-lap race that is added in. That's not in most weekends, but there's 6 weekends that have it. Qualifying is at 3 p.m., which is fun to watch, especially if you're going to watch the Grand Prix. You should watch qualifying just to like get a feel for it and start to learn the cars. The race this Sunday, if you do nothing else, it is at 3 p.m. I was right.
3 p.m.
3 p.m.
Sunday,
Central
May 5th.
Time.
Yeah.
3 p.m. Central Time, which is amazing because if you're a soccer fan, the Liverpool-Tottenham game is at 10:30. So
that'll be over by the time you got, big sports Sunday ahead of us. It'll be really fun.
If you want to get into F1, I'll say 2 things. Number 1, if you are already a fan of English or any European soccer, it is a easy transition.
Yeah.
It's easy because you're already used to waking up at early mornings to watch European events. You clearly like the Anglophile, or you clearly like the European side of things, their perspective, their accents, like you said. That's huge. If you like European soccer, you should easily 1-for-1 transition at F1. Otherwise, if you go, I want to get into F1, but I hate racing. This used to be me. Literally just binge Drive to Survive on Netflix. Don't watch anything. Don't follow anybody on social media. Don't watch anything until you finish the entire series, and you're going to be totally up to date. You're also going to get the surprise of like, oh, this person's on this team now. Because it's like a year behind,
right?
And you'll get to like get caught up on everything, and then follow everybody on social media. Start waking up and watching races, and literally you're going to have such an amazing wealth of knowledge already. And then also, of course, watch every single episode of Formula Bone.
J-Bone. When I'm working out, there are a few essential things I absolutely must have. My AirPods, my water bottle, and my Fitbod app on my phone. Today's episode is brought to you by Fitbod. Fitbod is a fitness app that creates completely personalized workouts that adapt as you improve. It's like having your own personal trainer in your pocket. Whether you are a seasoned gym goer or just starting your fitness journey, Fitbod will push you to make progress. It's like having your own personal trainer, but better. It's cheaper. You can work out anywhere with or without equipment, and it's easy to build a custom fitness plan that works for you. I've been using the Fitbod app for over a year now. I'm on like workout 159, I think, and it is legitimately awesome. I've done 3 so far this week. I've got 1 more to go. My goal in the Fitbod app is 4 per week, and I really, really could not more highly recommend it. Before I started using Fitbod, I did the exact same workouts every time I worked out for years, and eventually it was not doing anything for my body. I plateaued hard. Fitbod is the future. It has everything you wish those other apps had. Has been one of my favorite and most positive additions to my life in the past couple of years. Fitbod adapts as I progress, and by rating each exercise within my workout, it learns how difficult or easy it was for me and adjusts accordingly. It lets me set a goal of 4 workouts a week, helps me hold myself accountable to my fitness journey, and this past year has been the most consistent I've been with working out since I was in high school baseball because Fitbod has been so helpful. Fitbod is an essential part of my life, no exaggeration. And if you're worried like, oh, I don't know the workouts, I don't know how to do all these crazy gym things that these fitness freaks do, do not worry. With every single workout that Fitbod gives you, there is an accompanying description of exactly what you need to be doing, and with it, a video that you can watch from multiple angles of someone else doing the lift or movement so that you can see exactly how it's done correctly, with correct form, and safely. It is awesome. Add Fitbod to your workout essentials. Join Fitbod today to get your personalized workout plan and get 25% off your subscription, or try the app completely free at fitbod.me/Ross. That's FITBOD.me/ROSS. Fitbod.me/Ross. Last F1 question. Are there any specific ways you think F1 could further grow in the United States? Because like we've named some of the obvious hurdles already. But like, has anything ever occurred to you in the way of like, all right, if they did this, more Americans would be able to connect with it? I mean, it sounds like one thing would be potentially shortening those windows where they have the certain specifications about the cars and tracks made, because that's like what's given Red Bull this lengthy period of time where they're just dominating.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Any other ideas? I'll give you one of mine. More fights.
So, okay. The biggest thing that sets F1 apart from every other racing series, I mean, there are some others that are also like this, but it is not a spec series. IndyCar, every team gets the same parts. All the cars are the same. It's just about how you set it up and about who's driving it, right?
Right.
So you can set them up to be quite different, and then you can also get into the tire strategy and fuel strategy and all that. But the cars are the same. In F1, that's the entire selling point, is the cars aren't the same. So when somebody gets their car really right, they dominate. That's just a hazard F1 faces, right? That can't change. And that the biggest thing that we get people to watch is more different drivers winning. Number one, far and away, if there was a different driver winning every race, it would change everything.
Yeah, but like you said, that part of the sport can't change because it is what sets the sport apart. That's almost that is the sport.
Yes. So some people in the past have talked about like penalizing teams that are doing really well, which would make more new winners happen, but again would kind of dilute the sport, and then it would make the people not want to spend all this money developing a car if then they just get penalized for having such a good car.
Yeah, it seems counterproductive.
So, realistically, I don't know if they can actually change anything to make it bigger in the United States. The only things that could change that would really help is if, for example, let's say Lewis Hamilton or Charles Leclerc or Lando Norris was Max's teammate, then I don't care if Red Bull wins every race, if there's a great battle but for first between the two teammates. This is why even when Lewis Hamilton was dominating, his teammate Nico Rosberg was fighting him. Nico won a championship. Nico beat Lewis for a championship when they were both in Mercedes together. So like that was still an entertaining season, despite the fact that Red Bull dominated. The fact that Red Bull just have Checo, who's just out there he's having a good time, but like not competing for wins at all. Max, last year in Miami, Ross, Checo was on pole, started the race first. Max was on P9. Max started in 9th place. He beat Checo by 5 seconds.
Yeah.
He went through 8 other cars, then got by Checo, then got 5 seconds on Checo. That's how much far behind Checo is than him. If we had a top driver with if the top team has 2 top drivers, that'll instantly get people caring more about it because then you get the crazy drama. Like it's really, really dramatic. Like there's funny clips of Nico and Lewis when one would get first, the other one gets second, and they had a battle on track, and they're like pissed at each other in the cool down room. Like that's amazing drama. This whole F1 would be a lot more entertaining if Checo was better.
Yeah, but they can't manufacture the team pairings either, because that's
No.
like, again, it doesn't make sense in terms of the setup of the sport and
Yes.
like the way the teams function.
So there's something that was going to help not get new fans, but keep existing fans engaged. That's going to happen next year, most likely. And that is that they're extending the points positions from 10th place down to 12th place.
Okay.
And the reason why that's more entertaining is that right now, F1 has 5 top teams that are fighting for podiums. They have the 5 bottom teams that are fighting for points. If the 5 top teams that are fighting for podiums all finish the race, they beat all the bottom 5 teams, usually, right?
Right.
If they go down to 12th place, you could have one of the bottom teams have a great weekend, still finish in the points and not get shut out just because the other top teams finish, right? So like you then get to the point of like, oh my God, Haas had 2 points finishes because they got 11th and 12th. And like it makes the battle at the bottom way more entertaining. I love the battle at the bottom. At the end of the season, it's so fun because let's say it's the end of the year. Williams is in 10th place. AlphaTauri is in 6th place. Williams finishes in 5th place in the last race, which is the best finish anybody in the bottom 5 had all season. They could just jump all of them and win like $60 million.
Right.
It's crazy because there's so much money that changes hands just for one constructors championship position. So if you have one amazing standout result, that's like, wow, it was raining and this guy had this amazing race, and they just immediately jump and they win the team. Like, yeah, $50 million.
That is one thing that are like that Americans can wrap our heads around. Massive purses, right? Big prize pools. So I think changing up the scoring and the points could potentially.
Yes. That's a great point. F1 does a very, very bad job of saying the stakes of what the constructors are fighting for.
Yeah,
like, hey, if Ferrari wins this season, they win 25 million more. So like every year, Mercedes and Ferrari going back and forth. Yeah, there's $50 million that is changing hands race by race here. Like they do a bad job of that. Americans love money. That would definitely help.
I get it. Their issue is that it's a very classy sport, right? That's very stuck in its ways and very European centric. And I get all that. But like to draw a larger, more worldwide audience, you're gonna have to change some things. I think and they don't seem overly concerned with this. This is just me hoping that they can get it to grow even more, because I've seen how much fun it is and how much people enjoy it. But one of the things is money, right? Use the money more, use the dollars more, talk about it more, throw those numbers out there, man. Like it's not going to sully the sport, to be honest, about the cash that's going on here. Getting rid of Will.i.am and involving more Pitbull would help.
Yes,
because
dude, if he's not
everybody
there,
loves Pitbull.
If he's not there this year, oh my God.
Mr. Worldwide's got to be there. And then, like I said, I think, look, people love NASCAR because there's fights. Like you said, they all crash into each other and they all fight each other after the race. And drunk people love fights. I don't think it should work the same way NASCAR does. Obviously, there can't be as many crashes. These cars are way too expensive. That just like fundamentally it's also very dangerous. But if they can allow more interpersonal drama to unfold during the races, there's a lot of drama off track, like you said. But during and immediately after the races, if they're just even a little shit talking, doesn't have to be full blown violence. I don't need to see anybody getting their teeth knocked out, but some level of conflict instead of everybody being as friendly as they are, I think would also help, because Americans are sick and we need that. But yeah, I think it's a lot of it is a marketing thing, because one thing you need is the media on your side. And like you watch ESPN, you tune in for Pat McAfee, for example, Monday after a race. They're not talking about it at all. They're mostly making fun of it. And it's like you need the mainstream media guys on board with talking. So you have to motivate them. And how do you motivate them? By giving them more interesting and salacious storylines and whatnot. So I think they could do a better job with marketing. That's one of the areas when I watch F1, I'm like, there's so much incredible content here, which you do a really great job of capturing on your show, Formula Bone, which you can subscribe to at youtube.com/@FormulaBone. But there's not enough people doing what you're doing. And in the mainstream media, like on television, they have to do a better job of presenting all the different facets and the drama and the celebrity intrigue, because it's there if you're tuning in for it. And I am, and I think I love it.
I think that's the thing that sets me apart is like when you if you go through my clips, which you should do right now, and like all of them, comment on all of them, subscribe, follow me. And if you do all that, you'll notice that like all I'm really doing, like when I write each episode, all I do is what is the most interesting thing that people can learn and then follow throughout the race weekend, or just what's the most interesting fact? What's the most interesting, like, I love facts. I love like, interesting, crazy facts. I love records. I do so much record content. Every time there's a record broken, I make a video about it. I love stuff like that. And like, that's the stuff I think even casual fans like. Like, I don't get into the nitty gritty. I don't go, the new 2026 regulations just came out. Here's what the new width of the nose cone can be. Like, I don't know, my fans don't care about that.
That's so technical. Yeah, I'm not interested in the technicalities.
Yes, I cover the drama. I cover the legacy. I cover the records. I cover on track like happenings. But I don't get into the technical stuff. I'm also not qualified to do that. I have a 2008 Nissan Sentra, Ross.
Yeah, no.
I'm not qualified to talk cars.
I don't even think what car you own necessarily qualifies you for. Like, I know a lot of people who have nice cars and they don't know shit about cars. Like, that's a different ballgame. That has to be something you're specifically interested in. And I appreciate that F1 also offers the technical side of things for people who do care about that.
Yes,
but for a larger mainstream audience, those aren't going to be the things that draw people in. Like you said, the width of the cone or whatever. Like, it's not most people's bag, baby. All right, we have time for one more question because this Zoom meeting is going to cut me off because I'm too cheap to pay for the professional version, so we only have 40 minutes. Before today's show, you informed me that you are deep in your sourdough era.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean?
I don't post a lot. Like most people who make sourdough, they make it because they post a lot. I make a lot of sourdough bread right now. My birthday, all I asked for and got was sourdough stuff. If you're a sourdough person, you would know I got a Challenger bread pan, phenomenal. I make a lot of sourdough bread right now. I'm on a minimum loaf a week. I'm about to up that to 2. I've just been perfecting my recipe right now, so I don't want to make 2 loaves and like not like the recipe. Then I just waste a bunch of flour. Flour's not cheap. Flourflation. And so what I like to do is I'm really working on it, and I just make a loaf a week. I find it very calming. I also work from home a lot of days, and so it's just easy to pop in the kitchen, do my little stretch and folds for 30 seconds, go back to working.
Why don't you do any social around this? Is it because social is your job?
Yeah, so this happened with disc golf.
You have tweeted once in 2024, Jared. Once.
Yeah.
I checked today. One time.
I think it is because social is my job. And the reason why, same thing with disc golf. Remember I started a disc golf brand and I stopped doing it because the reason I like disc golf is because it has nothing to do with social media.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to chase clout in my hobbies.
No, I get it. I mean, I would congratulate you on disconnecting from the toxicity of social media, but we work in online media, so I kind of want to choke you instead. But you 0 Instagram posts, 1 tweet.
Yeah.
I could not believe that. I was like, this fucking guy, man.
But how about on Formula Bone? I have more social...
An insane amount.
And a disgusting amount. I was going to say, I was like, you surely know more about F1 than most fans because you watch all of my videos.
Yes,
which
that is the main
lot of videos.
piece. That's the number one far and away place that I'm getting informed. But no, it was just hilarious to me how little your personal Jared.
Yeah.
And it's because you have these things that you do that are interesting, that people would find interesting, and that give more insight into your personality. And frankly, as somebody who's one of your good friends that now doesn't live in the same place as you, this would help me because I'd feel like I'm getting more J-Bone, like more insight into what the fuck you're up to. Like you're making sourdough bread like a psychopath.
If people listening to this video right now follow me on social media at Jared Borislow on Twitter, at Jared Borislow on Instagram, and you start commenting like, "Hey, we want more J-Bone. We want more J-Bone." I'll start
J-Bone. And I'm going to try to have you on here more too. This thing's going to cut us off though. So Jared, thank you for giving us your time today. We appreciate you. Thanks for all the hard work you do with Formula Bone. Providing the ignorant Americans like myself with insights into the world of F1. Any final?
Check out my video on YouTube. I know we're going to get cut off. I need to say this. You talked about fights in F1. I was literally at the Rays Brewers game that had the bench clearing brawl last night. It was crazy.
Oh, that was sick. It was Jose Siri, wasn't it? It was Siri. He used to be an Astro.
Way, during the game, I said, I'm an away fan there. I go, "Hey Siri, hit a home run." People laugh. Next pitch, home run. I had this grandma fist bump me. She's like, "That was funny."
Nice. All right, dude. Love you. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye. That will do it for today's show. We greatly appreciate Mr. Jared J-Bone Borislow taking the time to be with us today. I will be back later this week on patreon.com/Ross Bolin podcast. I shouldn't say later this week. The episode is already out because I'm traveling to Houston tomorrow, so we had to record a little earlier than usual. But every week on patreon.com/Ross Bolin podcast, we record an ad-free edition of our show where we take hotline calls from our listeners who are supporting us there on Patreon, respond to their weird questions and hypothetical scenarios and trash or not trash, and hear stories from their very odd lives at times, and hear them confess to crimes, and and talk about poo moving through the pipes of houses. We have a lot of fun on patreon.com/Ross Bolin podcast. So get in there now, where we're offering a 7-day free trial so you can check out the hundreds of exclusive ad-free episodes we have published on Patreon over the last several years. Enjoy the 7-day free trial, then stick around after it ends to support our show and be a part of making sure that the Ross Bolin podcast can continue to exist. Patreon, patreon.com/Ross Bolin podcast. Go subscribe today. Also, please support our sponsors by hitting the links in the description of this episode using our dedicated codes. That's how we pay the bills here at Bolin Media. You can find the links to today's sponsors in the episode description below. To check out our other shows, go to bolinmedia.com. Obviously, we have Formula Bone hosted by J-Bone, who joined us today. Go to youtube.com/@FormulaBone and subscribe to support J-Bone and get the best F1 content on the whole of the internet. Houston sports fans, check out Banging the Can. And those of you who are House of the Dragon fans, remember, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles is your go-to companion podcast when the time comes, June 16th. We've just got a little bit over a month before House of the Dragon is back. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBOLEN, at WRBolin. Holler at me in the DMs. Feel free. Shoot me an email, ross@rossbolinpodcast.com. This episode of RBP is presented by Bolin Media. Video of today's show was produced by Kade Orris. You can watch that video on youtube.com/@the-Ross-Bolin-Podcast. Until next time, remember, you are not alone. Peace be with you, and also with you.